Right, good morning and welcome back to the channel. CL just warming up, as I say every single time. Can I just recommend something to you? I don't know if you can notice on the drive here, but I've actually power washed it a couple of days ago, and so I'm having to put some kiln dried sand down and sweep it around. Can I just recommend that as a really chilled out sort of stress relieving thing to do? I'm really enjoying doing it, just sweeping the sand round. As you see, I've got quite a bit left to do, but yeah, I'm actually really enjoying doing that. What a stress relieving activity it is. So if you're lucky enough to have a drive, clean it off and go and sweep some sand round it. It chills you right out. Okay, got loads to talk about today, bit of a rant coming up, so be prepared, and we're going to talk about a couple of bikes at the end as well. So I'll see you down the road. Yes, thanks very much for joining me. As you can see, not great weather today, and I've got layers and layers of clothing on because it's quite chilly, and this is June, and that leads me nicely on to a little subject I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you've noticed, but the last few years the world's gone completely mad. I'm sure most of you know exactly what I'm on about. It all seemed to start with a particular event, and part of the reason the world's gone mad is that really I've got to be careful how I speak about that event, because if I mention it and I don't speak the correct narrative, if I don't relay the correct narrative about it, the video will be taken down, basically. It's part of the problem, part of the madness that's happened. Yes, we had I don't know if you noticed, but we had this little thing going round that everybody was catching, you know, a bit of a pandemic. And it's since then really that the world's gone completely crazy. I'm sure you, if you're as old as me, you'll agree. And if you don't, and you think, what on earth am I on about? And I suspect you're probably 20 years old or younger, to be honest, because believe me, this isn't how the world normally works. Being locked up in your own homes for no reason whatsoever, it's pretty unbelievable, and all the other things that go with it, but I'm not going to go on about that. But no, the madness that's gone on since then, because it just seems to be open sort of season now on lying, basically, mistruths being told outwardly, and nobody seems to question it. So many lies were told about the pandemic. I won't go into them, but let's crack on. Let's go up this way. Yeah, so many lies were told, and it just amused me a little while ago. We've just been through the month of May, and I've been speaking to lots of people about how rubbish the weather's been, how cold it's been. Lots of people at work that I speak to, I must have had the same conversation with probably at least half a dozen people who've all said, oh, I've had to put the heating on, or my missus has put the heating on back at home, it's that cold. And I've never known a May like it. Cold, wet, and that's been my experience. So, you know, we get cold months sometimes, that's fine, but what happened a few weeks, about a week ago, sorry, just utterly bamboozled me, and I thought, what? Yes, imagine my surprise when I heard a news report that the Meteorological Office, now for those of you who are not in the UK, that is the official body for meteorology. I can't say that, can I? In the UK, it is the gold standard for weather prediction and for monitoring our weather in the UK, and you know how obsessed we are with the weather in the UK. But the Meteorological Office, I got it that time, actually stated that this May, has been, wait for it, the warmest May on record since records began, and we're talking about 1850 something, I think. But anyway, since records began, the warmest May on record. And I heard that and I thought, is it April the 1st? What's going on? Is this a joke? I just thought, what? Well, we've got some traffic now. I'll be back with you in a minute. Right, managed to get through the traffic lights. What the lads doing? I think they're tidying up the sides there. Yeah, we are getting lots of wood in the middle of the road, so good job, well done boys. Yeah, apparently it's the warmest May that we've just been through on record since records began. Now, if somebody had come out and said, well, it's warmer than you thought it was, actually, it's not that cold, I would have gone, really? But when I heard this, that it was officially the warmest May on record, I just thought, am I living in a separate universe or something? What on earth is going on? Now, I'm not a meteorologist. There you go, I've said it right again. But seriously, it just feels as though we're all being lied to, quite frankly. Now, I know there's probably people who are listening to this video saying, oh, well, you're not a statistician, you don't realise how it works out. It's mean, modian, this, and we take the temperatures over a period from so many different stations and we average them out and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I'm sure you can convince anybody of anything if you had the right statistics. But the reality is, this hasn't been the warmest May on record. I think it's absolute utter nonsense, balderdash. Now, why would that be? Why would anybody lie to you about such a thing? And there's the question, isn't it? It sort of hints at an agenda, and I wonder what that could possibly be. Yes, well, I'll leave it there. Because in other news, folks, not weather related, I've been rather interested in the some of the reports back now about the new Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. Now, I made a video a while back saying that I thought Royal Enfield perhaps were up against it a little bit. That I think I entitled the video "Is the honeymoon over?" And I've said that some of their new bikes have been received in a lukewarm sort of way, and some people said to me, no, they haven't. They're still as super popular as ever. But it was the early sort of reports I was getting back and hearing from about certain models, and one of them was in fact the Himalayan 450. Well, there's been a few more reports in now because people have got the bikes. And there's one in particular I was interested in, by a guy called Nathan the Postman. Now, he's a guy I've followed for quite a few years on and off. He's very into the off-road scene. He's got a thing called Dorothy's Speed Shop, and he basically takes tours all over the world. It's full-time or his part-time job. He tours people all over the world, so he knows off-road bikes inside and out, and he was a big fan of the original 411 Himalayan. He buys his own bikes, he's got a fleet of bikes, and you could go down to him and go on tours. He was a big fan of the original 411, and he's finally purchased a new one. And he's been on a trip, right the way around Iceland, taking it around there. Now, he will tell you that this is a capable off-road machine. But at the end, very honestly, he also says, I think Royal Enfield have dropped a clanger here, because I don't think these bikes will appeal to the 411 owners, and that's what basically I was saying in my original sort of criticism of it. It's more powerful, it's what they wanted, it's what everyone wanted, a bit more power of course from the original, but I also think it's lost an awful lot of appeal to the sort of strengths that the owners of the original 411 wanted. And the other thing that I've noticed, I've gone and sat on one. I haven't ridden one, so I haven't ridden one properly, but I have looked around one closely and I've sat on one. And the other thing, the important thing is, of course, it's showroom appeal with a bike, isn't it? It's what it looks like, and you jump on it and you sit on it and you feel it and you think, do I want to go and take this out for a test ride? That's sort of the first thing it has to pass. And one of the big issues with this bike, and I can personally attest to this, is the weight, particularly the weight off the stand. Now, it's been well documented that it leans, I'll use my hand here without hopefully somebody thinking I'm waving at them, but the bike leans on the stand much more than normal. It leans over an awful lot, but the bike is also, it carries its weight very high. So when I sat on this bike, and it's a bit too tall for me anyway, it wouldn't be a bike that I'd choose because it's a bit tall. I'll be honest, I was shocked, truly stunned by how heavy it was to get off the stand. And even a big chap like this guy Nathan the Postman, thinks is about 6'2", big chunky chap, even he said how heavy it is it feels when it's stationary. It's okay when it's going along like all, but I mean, a Goldwing doesn't feel heavy when you're actually riding it. I mean, everything loses its weight once you get that momentum, obviously. But the weight off the stand of the new Himalayan I'll be honest, I was shocked. I've never felt a heavier bike. And he actually did a little test with his mates on this run around Iceland, and they stood the bikes up in a car park on a level surface, all of them the same, and he said it was heavier off the stand than a 1250 GS, a 260 odd kilo bike. And that's naked, that's without the without panniers and all the other things on. This is a seriously top heavy feeling bike. Now, I'm not doubting its off-road ability, I'm sure it's great, I'm sure they've done a great job there, but how it feels off the stand is really important if you're going to get people out on test rides and finally decide to buy one of these things. And I think that's going to put off an awful lot of people. I don't know why it's that heavy, but I think they've dropped a real clanger here with this, and I think it's going to limit the sales somewhat. Some people won't bother, of course, not saying they won't sell, but I don't think they're going to be anywhere near as popular as the original 411 Himalayan. That's just my shout. I don't think they will be. And I know they've obviously put a huge amount of money into this second generation because they knew they had to get it right. I think they've made a balls up. I think they've got it very, very wrong in that way. Very top heavy, horrible to get off the stand, really horrible. I was there actually, once again I was there with my friend Malcolm, and we both said exactly the same thing. We really struggled to get the thing upright. It was horrible to manoeuvre around when it was stationary, really horrible. Admittedly, I'm a small person, but nevertheless. On another subject, I've had a really interesting conversation. I'll just tell you briefly, but I'm going to do a bit more research on this. But I had a chat, because I remember I like the GSX8s Suzuki, and I took that out for a test ride. And I had a chap contact me, a subscriber, who said he had one, he's actually had one, and he's ended up rejecting it and sending it back. He had it on one of these PP, whatever it is, deals. And he upgraded from an SV650 Suzuki to the new GSX8s, and he's actually ended up rejecting it. He's had engine problems with it. Now, I hadn't heard of any issues with this bike before, so it's really interesting. Obviously this platform for Suzuki is really important, the new 800 twin. It's in a number of their bikes. But I'm going to do a little bit more research before I talk about it. But I really appreciate that chap for contacting me, and I asked him to fill me in, and he gave me quite a long description of exactly what was wrong. So I'm going to do some more research and look into that, because I don't want to have a go at one manufacturer but ignore another one. I will tell you straight what I hear about any bike. Even if the CL500 is a problem, I will tell you. That's a thing that's going around the internet a lot at the moment, funnily enough, is that do people tell the truth online? I mean, I did a video about that about 3 months ago, actually, saying that bike testing on YouTube is largely useless, but everybody seems to have picked up on that and doing the same sort of videos at the moment. I will tell you the truth, if there's any problems with the CL, I will tell you, and you know I will always tell you that. But this isn't a testy channel, this isn't really a test channel, this is more, I just bring you along, share my thoughts with you, and hope you enjoy the ride. That's really what it's about. But yeah, I will look into the GSX8s platform issues more, and I'll report back to you. But that's my thoughts on the new Himalayan. Have you sat on one yourself? Because if you have, I'm sure you will agree with me about how heavy it is and how heavy it feels when it's stationary. I know that once you get going, that weight disappears, but that's true, as I said, for all bikes. But it's still important how heavy a bike feels when it's stationary, and how heavy it feels to take off the stand as you get on it, especially for smaller people like myself. And I think Royal Enfield here drops a real clanger. I really do. So there we go. One of the things with the second generation Himalayan is everyone hoped it would be lighter than the first, and it's actually the same weight, but it actually feels worse by far because of this balance issue. So there we are. I'm at the calf. Don't know what's going on. Loads of bikes out, even though the weather's rubbish as always. Oh, we've got Lee here on his Z900 RS. We've got Roy. Yeah, they're all here. Where shall I park? I'll park on the end. Oh, we've got our Harley Davidson mate Phil over there. I'll park at an angle, I think. So that's all from me. Thanks for being with me again, and I will see you in the next one. So bye for now. See you in a bit.